Hey everybody, welcome back to Idiot Proof Cooking. So today I felt like making some ribs. Now normally I like to either barbecue my ribs or throw them in my smoker. I try not to use my smoker too often on the channel though, because it's not really that idiot proof. Not a lot of people have smokers. They can be kind of finicky and they take a lot of adjustments. So that's why I don't use it that often. But that brought up the age-old question of, can you make ribs in the oven that would rival either barbecued or smoked ribs? So let's find out together, and let's get into it. Okay, so to make ribs in the oven that are comparable to either in the smoker or on a barbecue, I had to do a lot of research, and the one recipe that I came across that I think is going to give us our best results is one from America's Test Kitchen where they use tea. It's really cool, and I'll get more into it in a minute here, but what we're going to do first is make a dry rub for the ribs. So start off by adding a 1/4 cup of brown sugar into a mixing bowl, then add in a tablespoon of garlic powder, then a tablespoon of onion powder. Next in is a tablespoon of ground cumin, pour that in as well, and then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of smoked paprika. From there I'm going to add in a tablespoon of white pepper. Now black pepper would be fine, I just felt like trying out white pepper this time. And then I'm going to add in a teaspoon or so of cayenne pepper, and then a good pinch of kosher salt, again about a tablespoon's worth, and then I'm going to add in a teaspoon of dried mustard powder and mix this all together either with a whisk or a fork or whatever you have available. Give it a quick taste test to make sure you like it, otherwise you're going to have to change it around a little bit, and oh yeah, that is good. So let's move on to the ribs. Now you can really use whatever ribs you want, back, side, spare, any of them will work for this recipe, but what you're going to want to do, no matter what type of rib you get, you're going to want to remove the silver skin from the back and any large deposits of fat, because they're not going to cook very properly like this, especially the silver skin. It's not going to render properly when you cook it, so cut them off. Now I'm cutting these in half in order for them to be easier to work with while I'm cooking them. And then we're going to cover them head to toe in yellow mustard. Now this is something you do when smoking or barbecuing them. It's just used as an adhesive for the dry rub. Don't worry, it's not going to make your ribs taste like mustard. It's just for the dry rub to stick to them. From there, I'm going to add them onto a wire rack, flip them over, and I'm going to add some more yellow mustard on the back of them. This is a messy process, unfortunately, and mustard will stain your skin a little bit. And then you're just going to generously coat them head to toe in your dry rub, just as you can see I'm doing here. Then get yourself a baking sheet, and this is where the recipe gets a little bit funky because we're going to pour some tea into here, specifically lapsang tea, which is a smoked tea. It has a really unique smoky flavor and smell to it. I was able to get a fairly large bag off of Amazon for cheap. So you're going to pour a lot of it into the baking sheet, then take your ribs on the wire rack and place them over the top of the tea. From there, I'm going to create a lid for the baking sheet with a couple of pieces of tin foil. So because of the size of the baking sheet, I just need to take a couple pieces, fold them against each other in order to fully cover the baking sheet. Now this is a really cool recipe because essentially what we're going to do is throw this into a super hot oven and allow the tea to smoke and just smoke the ribs inside. It's a really, really cool method, and I'm excited to see how this turns out. So anyways, make sure there's no cracks in the tin foil. You don't want any of this smoke escaping. But from there, you're going to preheat your oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to make sure the rack's in the lower third position and throw either a pizza stone or a pizza steel in. And from there, you're going to bake these on top of the pizza stone or steel for 30 minutes. The pizza stone is there to help transfer the heat to the bottom of the baking sheet to really help those tea leaves smoke. So half an hour at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now while the ribs are cooking, let's make an easy barbecue sauce. So into a pot, add in 1/3 of a cup of ketchup, and then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. From there, I will add in about a tablespoon and a half of honey. Then I'm going to add in a few dashes of some hot sauce. I'm using Tabasco here. You can also use Frank's or whatever your favorite hot sauce is. Then add in a few dashes of liquid smoke. Again, a few dashes of some Worcester sauce, and then I'm going to use the rest of the dry rub that I had left over from the ribs. From there, I'm going to mix this all together, making sure it's combined, and then I'm going to throw it on a medium heat on a burner and let it simmer for the next half an hour to thicken up. Now back to the ribs. They've been in the oven for 30 minutes at 500 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, there's some smoke coming out. So I'm just going to crack open the tin foil a little bit, and I'm going to pour in a beer on top of the tea. Now you don't have to use beer, you can use apple juice. That would work just as fine. Essentially what we're pouring the liquid in is so that the ribs can steam for the next hour. So drop the temperature in your oven down to 250 degrees Fahrenheit and throw these back in the oven for another hour and 15 minutes or so. And by that time the ribs are going to come out super tender, just so tender, but they're not going to look like much yet. As you can see here, they look like oven ribs, but we're not done. We're not nearly done yet. Now, as you can see here, some of the bones have started coming out, but no, we have a few extra steps here. So go get your barbecue sauce that you made. As you can see, it's thickened up quite nicely. And now it's time to just paint that barbecue sauce on top of both parts of your ribs. You're going to want to make sure they're nice and coated, very, very coated, head to toe, on the top only at this point in time. From there, crank up your broiler to high, and you're going to stick these under the broiler for 7 minutes. They're going to come out looking like that. Look at that, they're starting to look nicer, but we're not done yet. Flip them over, and you're going to repeat this process. So you're just going to completely paint the bottom side with your barbecue sauce, similar to the way you did it on the top side of the ribs. From there, you're going to stick them under the broiler again for 7 minutes. Now look at those, they are starting to look like barbecued ribs, but we have one final step. We're going to stick them under the broiler one last time on the top side. So flip them over once again. Get your barbecue sauce and just completely and liberally coat the tops of them again. And then, similar to the process the first 2 times, we're going to stick them under the broiler for an additional 7 minutes. Now they're going to come out looking something like this. Oh man, those look like barbecued ribs, and they smell so good. They smell amazing. They're so smoky and rich smelling, and they look awesome. But you know what? I gotta let these cool down for 10 minutes because they're piping hot. Alright, so 10 minutes has elapsed. Now I'm going to take these off the baking sheet and throw them on my cutting board because I am super pumped to try these. I just want to cut into these right away. So I'm just going to cut off a few of the ribs here. As you can see, they are super tender, super tender. The knife is cutting through them without an issue. And oh man, I can't begin to describe how cool this is because they smell so smoky. They smell like you've smoked them. And let me just give you a quick shot of them here. Look at that. Now these are piping hot, so I'm burning my hands here. They are still really hot. 10 minutes did nothing to cool them down. So let's see if I can go in for a taste test here, and as you can see, they are just fall off the bone. They are so tender, but you know what? They are super hot, and no rose, they are going to burn you if you try and eat them right now. So you know what? I'm gonna give these another 5-10 minutes to cool down before I try them. And here we go. So let's go in for the first bite, and wow, those were good. Wow, they were really good. They were so smoky and rich and tender. They were absolutely delicious. Wow, were they good. I can't get over the fact that how smoky they taste. That lapsang tea method is a really cool way to do it. Now, I know what you're all wondering. Are they better than smoked ribs? And I'm going to shock you and say no, they're not. Cooking them in a smoker is still better. But these are without a doubt, the best oven ribs I have ever had. They are amazing. So you should definitely try making them at home. But, like always, that is the end of the episode. So I hope you like what you saw here today, because I had a lot of fun making this. So if you like what you saw here today, drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking. We'll see you again soon.